past few weeks I've been doing some work with my state fair. Well, it was more of a mini fair because of COVID complications. And usually approaching a project this big, sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed and too much in my own head with so many of my different ideas and my creative thoughts that my head starts spinning and I don't even know where to begin. Sometimes when my brain gets like this, I like to categorize and break down to bullet points and sections of what to approach, how to approach it, and really simplify it because there's so much to do in capture that it can easily be overwhelming. So if you're going to a fair anytime soon or really approaching any event, here are 5 fair photo ideas that I use to help me when capturing content at a fair. Fair photo idea number 1, center subject. So just think of certain subjects in your head that you really want to capture and create content around, like obviously the Ferris wheel. So I know I could use a ton of different lenses to really kind of get a variety of different shots out of it. I love using a really wide angle lens and getting as close to as possible and tilting it up on a tripod to make it look even bigger than it actually is. I like to take a telephoto lens and maybe walk all the way back and zoom right into 200 and trying to capture the people walking around, and as well as kind of like really making it unique. I mean, everyone, think about any fair or carnival, the most photographed thing there is going to be one of the attractions, which is the Ferris wheel. So even going on Instagram and going to your geolocations and just kind of scrolling through for inspiration, you can kind of see an idea and run with it and work with it and try to make it different. So taking any sort of subject and really just milking it for as much as you can with it, using different lenses like a telephoto lens and a wide angle lens, using long exposure too. A telephoto lens is something I highly recommend if you're going to shoot any really outdoor event. I think it's an absolute necessity, so that way you can kind of give people their personal space as well, but still you're able to kind of capture candid moments and not really be in the way of the event that's actually going on. And the center subject doesn't have to be so obvious like a Ferris wheel or a really big ride. It just kind of gets the ball going and gets the ideas flowing. So when you're really focusing on subjects, because you can even be like, oh, now I want to kind of highlight some food, which really leads me to my next point in fair photo ideas number 2. Food, and more food. The fair is known to have all these different types of food. Food, as I feel with music, is such a powerful way to connect with different people all around the world. Food has such its own language. Why wouldn't you take advantage of so much variety at your disposal in just walking distance? There's a big opportunity there to really capture variety and create as much content around just the subject of food. Fair photo idea number 3 didn't really come to me until I started taking pictures of some center subjects I had in my head and started really kind of getting into the food too, and just seeing all of so many different things was kind of becoming overwhelming. But I really wanted to kind of break it down and make it simple, so even looking at a particular subject and getting a little bit closer and really honing in on its texture. So number 3 being texture. There's a lot of different attractions, rides, toys. If you can find a way to simplify something that has a lot going on already, I think that can kind of pack a harder punch. There's some photos that I took that kind of surprised me in a sense too. Lately I've been really into Tyler Shields too, so I feel like this wave of inspiration to capture out of the box ideas more. So kind of thinking more of a texture flat lay approach to bigger picture sort of subjects has really kind of opened my brain to more creative ideas. As I'm walking around getting more into my creative flow and getting more ideas, all these light bulbs are going off my head, and then I stop and look around. I'm like, there are a ton of lights in here, and which is a huge aspect of photography is lights. So there's so many different varieties and shades and colors of lights that is something to use to your disposal as a creative. So fair photo idea number 4 being lights, all the lights and more of the lights. A ton of lights. I like to have fun with fractals and prisms to really get more variety out of the lights instead of looking at something from face value. Using these fractals and glasses to kind of really get artistic and creative with the lights is a lot of fun, and you can get some really cool stuff out of it. Even going back to the Ferris wheel, what's really popular, I love seeing it. I don't care how overused it is. The long exposure of the Ferris wheel, really kind of honing in and capturing all the light. What I was starting to do too, instead of setting up a tripod with all these people walking around, what I did was put my shutter speed to 1/4 and went close to some sort of pole to kind of get a little bit more stability, held my breath, and took some photos, because some of these fair rides are going so fast that putting your shutter speed 1/4, you can really still emulate and get some cool long exposure light trails. I would highly recommend bringing a prime lens of some sort. That way you can bring it all the way down to 1.8, 1.4, as low as you can go. So that way you can really accentuate those lights and get all those beautiful bokeh balls, blur, whatever you want to call it. Literally walk around and put something in front and you'll have a beautiful background because of all the lights just blurred out in such a aesthetically pleasing way. Something I wish I would have done a little bit more was work with an influencer model, he or she wearing sunglasses or any sort of glasses and having the subject look at lights and having that little bokeh reflect gives such a cool, almost like cinematic look. But that leads me to my next and final point for Fair Photo idea number 5. It's a really good opportunity to, I don't really like to use the word too much, network. Just talk to people, get to know people in your community a little bit more. Since I'm a musician, I already knew most of the bands, but a lot of the bands I didn't know, and this was a great opportunity for me to kind of just link up, introduce myself, get some photos, and just really make that connection. Networking, I feel like, is something people dwell over too much. They're either in the category of grabbing or gravitating towards a person. Grabbing meaning I'm only going to shoot and cover this band because they maybe have a good social media following and they'll use my photos, and that means I can get a following through them. Or if they're working with this brand and I want to kind of grab what I need from them, compared to being actually gravitated towards the person and developing a real connection through your creativity, and it's a mutual beneficial relationship. And that's kind of what, nothing negative, and what I'm personally about is creativity and connection. So I really appreciate you guys watching this video. If you like it, that's cool. If you want to subscribe and do that stuff too, that's cool. Video breakdown helped or made sense. Again, thank you South Florida Fair for having me, and also thank you for allowing me to perform some music too. I had a ton of fun. It was a great time. Way more active over on Instagram if you want to follow the page. That's cool. If you don't, that's cool too. But other than that, okay, I look stupid. Thank you. Support your community. See you later.
Baby, I can set you free. Maybe